The First Shogun's General, Part 5, Chapter 11, A History Lesson, Yoshitsune's Part, POV, Yoshitsune. I took one final deep breath before beginning the final tale. My tale. Everyone here already knows how I was turned, so I will skip that part. Instead, I will speak of my encounters with both Ryuki and Muzan. I caught the young one's attention as I started. My first encounter was with Ryuki about 59 years after I became a demon. Neither of us were at our peaks, as Ryuki was only 274 years old, still training to master the transparent world. While he was stronger than me, I used my kekijutsu to sever his arms and legs, as well as his neck. He was impressed and invited me to come back with him to Muzan, though I refused, saying, "When I realized I was a demon, I made a promise to kill the one who turned me. If this Muzan is the one who turned me, then I will grow stronger so I can kill him." After saying this, he just laughed and said, "Quite the spirit. You also don't have the curse that all demons start out with?" Interesting. Well, I'll be taking my leave now. Goodbye, youngling. I wish you all the best in your quest. Ha 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 ha. That encounter pushed me to master my kekijutsu and swordsmanship even further than before. Pausing to let that sink in for the kids, I continued on. I had more encounters with him over the years, growing ever stronger after each one. Soon enough after our battle would end, he would bring out sake to drink to a good fight. Those were the good old days, randomly finding each other, challenging the other, drinking like brothers, because that is what we truly were, for he was a much better, older brother than Yoritomo ever would be. I paused to remember those old times that to me feel like they happened just yesterday. Voices passed through my mind like the wind, fleeting, never lasting long. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I continued. It was 11 years after I met Ryuki, and when I turned 100 years old, that I met Muzan. Seeing my children stiffen, I released my demonic aura to calm them down before continuing. He just looked at me. His gaze wasn't fierce. It felt like he was judging me, not my actions or demeanor, but my strength. But in that moment, all I felt was anger towards the one who turned me. Pausing so that the words would be fully understood by the children, I restarted. Then he just moved, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of me, his fist stretched out to cave in my head. I deftly dodged the strike before retaliating with my own, as I sent my right fist forwards, which he easily blocked before I made my real attack, hitting him under his chin with my sword's handle, which I used as an opportunity to make the attack even more effective by flicking the tsuba to unsheath my blade and send Muzan stumbling backwards and catching my blade before going into a defensive position. Pausing to let the children fully grasp what I said, I saw both of their awes at hearing about what I did and hearing Michikatsu mutter of, "Why hasn't anyone in all of demon-slaying history tried to make that a breathing form?" I laughed out loud at his question. "Ha ha! That's because the move is made to disorient opponents, to catch them off guard. and they all think that the move is useless against demons, despite the fact it worked on a 427-year-old Muzan. I answered him as Michikatsu just sighed and palmed his forehead. Idiots, the lot of them. He muttered with disdain, I completely agree. They can be rather idiotic when it comes to this topic. They probably just thought that Thunderclap and Flash was good enough, and just left it like that. I said before clearing my throat to draw everyone's attention before continuing. Muzan quickly regained himself before he did the last thing I ever expected him to do. He laughed. He laughed long and loud with a giant grin plastered across his face. Excellent! Magnificent! Well done! Ryuki was right about you, kid. You're strong. I felt all my anger at Muzan in that moment vanish. This was Muzan, the one who turned me into this demonic abomination, I thought to myself as I couldn't believe what was happening. It was the next moment that I asked him why he turned me into a demon. I also addressed him with his full name for good measure. Instead of seeming angry at me using his full name, he was pleased. So he was also right about that, huh? All right, now I can fight you without knowing what move you're going to do next. It was here I was puzzled and asked what he meant. Pausing to let all the words sink in, I continued. He elaborated that he could read all demons' minds. The only ones he couldn't read are the ones who broke the curse. I took the chance to ask him why he turned me into a demon. His response was that he saw me in battle once and saw my potential to be strong. So when I was on the brink of death, he turned me into a demon. I didn't like it, but from how excited he was at me fighting him and being strong, I could slightly understand why he would do it. We exchanged a few more words before Muzan decided to leave, saying, I look forward to watching you grow even stronger, Minamoto no Yoshitsune, leaving me behind to contemplate and reflect on everything I had learned that night. I paused watching Michikatsu's reaction to the words I told him, and saw that he didn't really seem all that surprised. Nor was Yushiro, for that matter. I sighed before I continued once again. I would keep encountering Muzan on occasion where he would test my strength. One day, after one said test, he straight up said, You are my child now. You have no choice and cannot refuse this. It left me absolutely shocked. Later on, after an encounter with Ryuki, I asked him about it. He told me the same thing happened to him, but it was as Muzan's best friend rather than his soul. This time the reactions were more exaggerated. Yushiro looked ready to faint. Michikatsu looked like he was questioning everything that was right in the universe. And Tamayo-chan? She was still calm as she already knew about this, as she knew another reason why Muzan absolutely despised her, even if he has forgotten said reason, was because he did not approve of her. I had quite the battle with dear old father because of that. He only relented in the end because Ryuki supported us. Good times. I once again cleared my throat before continuing. It took me decades to even refer to him as father. But one day I did, and he lit up like a light bulb and started babbling happily about how he was so proud of me. It honestly felt nice. I paused to remember those times. The times how after a fight, he would tell me how I could improve myself, how he would tell me stories of his and Ryuki's battles, the hilarious endings of some of them, or some of the most absurd strategies I had ever heard of, shaking my head to clear those memories away. I restarted. It was during those decades I encountered a very strong demon slayer. We fought for a good while before I emerged victorious, though only barely. This was the one who would one day lead the strongest demon slayers of this century to battle Muzan, Sho Asahi. Seeing that I had the children's interest, I continued. After the battle we both just left, before a few weeks later, we encountered each other again. We fought once more. This time Asahi was victorious, just like before we both left. Met up a few weeks later and battled once more. This pattern continued until Asahi one day just decided to invite me to come train with him. It was an unexpected but welcome surprise. As it turned out, it was also a way to introduce me to the other strongest demon slayers. Pausing to let that sink in, I continued. It was during this time I learned of the sword techniques. Watching how the strongest demon slayers trained left me shook. I had never trained as hard as they did despite being a demon. I decided then and there that would change. I followed their training to the letter, did everything I was instructed to do and more. I never developed my own unique technique, but I did invent some new forms and improved old ones. The sun slash, that just used to be a superheated cut, not a ranged attack, as I showed them how to make some of their techniques ranged attacks. I paused to look at the faces of the children, specifically Michikatsu. Yushiro was calm, as he already suspected that I improved, or made some of the forms I had shown him. Michikatsu, on the other hand, looked impressed, as unlike Yushiro, he knew how hard it was to improve on an existing style or make a new form for said style. It was much easier to make your own form from scratch than to improve upon or make a new form for a style. I let this all settle before I continued. My strength grew leaps and bounds so quickly, it was hard to even believe that it was just that simple. I just had to push my body beyond its limits. Was it absolute hell? Yes. Was it all worth it? Yes, it was. For when after training with them for a while, the next time I met Ryuki, I defeated him. I had never, not even once, defeated Ryuki. We were both so shocked that afterwards we just stayed in our spots, not moving before Ryuki gave a loud laugh filled with joy. "Ha ha 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 ha! Guess you finally surpassed me, huh, Yoshitsune? Now all that's left for you is to surpass Muzan." I still didn't move, though, as I felt that it wasn't a fair fight. Pausing to take another deep breath, I continued. After I felt this feeling, I told him how I felt. His response was not what I was expecting. Cheated? How? Just because you used a demon slayer technique? Don't be ridiculous. It's still your strength, is it not? It's still you wielding your blade, right? Then how could you have cheated? I lost fair and square because you surpassed me. Don't diminish your accomplishment by saying you cheated, or ever diminish your accomplishments again because of thinking that. Understood? I was brought to tears when he finished, as we embraced each other for several seconds before we both let go and continued on our paths with only farewells to the other. Remembering his words, words that still guided him today, my eyes seemed watery. I quickly regained composure before continuing. It was a few months later I met Muzan and we fought. Let me tell you, when I beheaded him, he was so shocked but instantly beamed with joy and hugged me crying, "My son has surpassed me." Oh, what a joyous day! I, of course, called him an old man and yelled at him to let go of me. He eventually did, but not before showering me with more praises. I was irritated and left quickly to go train more. Seeing Michikatsu once again look like he was questioning everything he knew, and Yushiro have a little tiny piece of foam coming out of his mouth, was hilarious. Seeing my wife shoot me a look to finish quickly was not. So that's what I did. It was when I was 130 years old that all of the strongest demon slayers met and traveled together to go kill Muzan. I watched from the shadows as I watched the people who I had grown to call friends, even brother, be killed one by one. But I didn't interfere, as all of them didn't want to die to a regular demon or from age. They wanted to die to Kibutsuji Muzan, that or kill him. Pausing to clear my thoughts, I continued, "They were all strong. The weakest of them was stronger than you when you were still Upper Moon 1 Michikatsu." Looking on as Michikatsu's eyes widened, I knew that he would increase his training, as now he knew that he had a long way to go. Continuing on, I said, "While Asahi was on the same level I was at back then, he couldn't regenerate. So, while I had already surpassed Muzan and grown much stronger since that fight, so had Muzan. He dispatched the weakest with ease and kept doing so until he reached the third strongest, Ko Nagareru, the water Yaiba, which is what the strongest back then were called. While he was the oldest, being 88 years old, he was also the most proficient with the blade. For you to truly understand Michikatsu, his skill makes Yorichi's look like the work of an amateur." Seeing Michikatsu look like a goldfish with that expression he had was highly amusing. Muzan himself said that your swordsmanship transcends logic itself. And what a compliment it was, though Nagareru was still defeated. He came close to defeating Muzan. Seeing the reactions of Yushiro, who looked slightly interested, Michikatsu, who looked like he had found a new goal to overcome, and Tamayo, who was still looking at me to hurry up, I hurried up. Next was the second strongest, Waka Ikazuchi, the lightning Yaiba. He was the youngest of the Yaibas, only 19 years old, but he had a talent for speed. He was so fast that he would leave multiple after images behind whenever he moved in battle. Muzan also complimented him, saying that, "I can barely react, and the only reason I can is because of instinct. You are so young yet so strong. You have my utmost undying respect." He meant it too, as when Yorichi blitzed his normal unguarded form, Ryuki told me that looking at the memory of that moment, he saw that Yorichi was not as fast as Ikazuchi. Pausing to look at the others, Yushiro now looked bored. Michikatsu seemed to have found someone else to surpass, and Tamayo-chan was… Gulp! I better finish soon or I'm going to be in pain. A lot of pain. Muzan still defeated him, though. Now only Asahi was left. The Sunblade. He cut Muzan's head off very early in the battle, but Muzan regrew his head and smiled. Well done. No one other than my son has ever managed to cut off my head before. Well done indeed. Though I guess it's time to get serious. When he said this, he took of his yukata. Then red marks started appearing across his skin, and mouths grew across his body. 9 whip-like tentacles appeared that were attached to a spine like oval on his back. He was so much stronger than before, he kept up with Asahi. Before I noticed something, he was growing stronger in every instant. Soon enough, he had surpassed Asahi and kept growing stronger until Asahi could barely react at all to Muzan. It was at this point I realized how strong Muzan truly was, what his true strength was, to grow stronger forever. That is Muzan's true power. This means he has no limits on his potential, for his potential is infinite. I sighed as I looked at Yushiro, who seemed about ready to faint again, Michikatsu, who had an incredibly pale complexion, and Tamayo-chan, who merely closed her eyes in resignation. So I continued knowing I was safe, for now. He quickly killed Asahi. I wanted to cry, but held in my tears before I heard him speak. I know you're there, son. Please, come out. I was terrified, but obeyed, and walked towards him. To my absolute shock, he embraced me. They were your friends, weren't they? He said. I just nodded into his chest, not daring to say a word. It's okay. Let it all out. So I did. I wailed for hours as my father just held me in his arms and let me release all my grief for my dead friends. Pausing, I noticed that Tamayo-chan had moved away from Michikatsu to sit by me, having one hand on my hand and another on my back. I gave her a teary smile before I continued. After I had finished, he told me how he knew I had been here the whole time, that he was sorry he had to kill my friends, that he was even more sorry that I had to witness him do it. He said that if I started to hate him, he would understand and leave me be. I told him that I hated the fact they had to die, not him. I explained how they all either wanted to die against you or to kill you. Either way, I would have lost something irreplaceable tonight. When I finished, he just hugged me once more before saying, "Let us bury their bodies so they may rest." I quickly agreed as we quickly dug the graves of my friends. Saying quick prayers for all of them, I told my father that I would be leaving. He didn't stop me, just wished me well. Pausing to take another deep breath, and feeling the soothing rubs on my back from my wife, I continued. I would still meet up with him and Ryuki all the way until my father met Yorichi. He was just out on a midnight stroll when he encountered Yorichi. He was in his human form and had his guard down as he just thought Yorichi was another breathing swordsman. While he was interested in the breathing techniques for a short time, he saw their flaws and quickly lost interest in them. It was this night where, when he was playing around with Yorichi, that he was caught off guard, as Yorichi quickly defeated my father. It was in this moment that my father was weakened enough that the personality of his human self, which he had been suppressing, took control. I do not know if Yorichi ever noticed that the one he fought in the beginning was not the same as the one he fought in the end. Being my father's human self, he didn't know all of his abilities or even his actual strength, and just used the only ones he did know about, thinking that those were his only abilities. Thus, Kibutsuji Muzan, the Okubyo Namao, rose, and Kibutsuji Muzan, the Daimao, fell. I finished before taking one last deep breath. Ever since I found this out, it has been my goal to either destroy the current Muzan or somehow bring back my father. Finishing the complete tale, I saw Yushiro's widened eyes, Michikatsu's hanging jaw, and looking to my right side, I saw my wife's warm expression. That is the tale of the three strongest demons in history. One who chose death, another who was subdued by his human self, who became a coward, and me, the only one who still fully remains. I said with bitterness at it all. Then I saw both Yushiro and Michikatsu rise and come forward to embrace me. My wife followed not even a second later. Tears started swelling in my eyes again, but this time I let them freely come. I had been holding all of this inside for centuries. It was time to let it all go. I stayed there, in the arms of my family, weeping for the past, but knowing that the future will be brighter, because I will make it so.